So if we'll learn how to, they kind of like to be communicated with. Some of us are visual learners. Some cattle are all visual, right? Particularly when they're communicating with us. They can't understand English. They can understand yelling, but they don't know if it's English or Spanish or French or what it might be. I never heard a Frenchman scream. I might holler. It would be kind of fun. I have to go over there and watch that. But so we communicate with cattle from the standpoint of sight. There's two main ways we communicate with cattle, that's sight and sound. Sound can be very distracting and it can be very helpful. So we have to use it appropriately. And so we add a little bit of sound, we can add a little bit of pressure. We can actually use sound to draw their attention to us so they can see us, and then they can respond to our presence. So sight and sound. Touch is the other. We rarely get to use touch unless we're in a confined situation or up close to those cattle. So that's kind of a third way. And I don't normally mention this, but a lot of the dairy people really focus on smell. Cattle can smell, and they can smell a lot of different things, probably much more sensitive than we can. But I don't know that that's as big an issue with us communicating with them as what we need done or not. But they can sure pick up when somebody new shows up, and if it's a different odor associated with that. So if we look at sight being our main thing, sound being secondary, where are the receptors for those two things on the cow? Right on the head, right? Front 4 inches of the head, that's all we got to worry about. Think about the way you see people work cattle. They're focused on the body and they're pushing the cow around, they're whooping on their butt, and they're screaming at them from behind. All that has to transfer through the eye and the ear before it makes any sense to a cow. So why don't we just work on that end instead of working on this end? So if we can reposition ourselves in what we're doing and create more of a draw and a flow toward us, which is, I mean, you're going to wind up behind cattle, don't get me wrong. But we can work more from the side and from the front of cattle to create this draw and flow. Because everything I'm going to concentrate on in moving pens of cattle or sorting cattle is creating draw and flow. Going through the processing barn, it's all about draw and flow. So when we add speed to something, it's not about pushing harder, it's about creating more flow. And so we can do that by the way we set all this up and be consistent in our message. I see a lot of ranches even that are very good in working cattle out in a pasture. But when they get into the corrals, they all seem to lose their mind and just go to screaming and hollering and whooping and raising Cain. And they don't do that outside because the cattle could run away. But once we get them confined and behind pipes, we can get goofy. And they can't get away from us. So we'll try to talk about how to use that eye and how to use it to our advantage the next few minutes. And if you do have questions, do ask them. I appreciate that question. It makes a better conversation if you have some. The other side of that is trying to figure out, we're not, and Mr. Devin made this point in the last session, you don't have time to train on cattle, bring them in a little area and train on some of them every day. But every time you interact with cattle, you have a chance to make them better or worse. So when I'm moving from the pen, I got to do it correctly, so that's a training opportunity. When I move them down the alleyway, that's another training opportunity. Go through that gate, it's a training opportunity. Go around a corner, that's a training opportunity. So everything we do with a cow, we can use to make them better. So when we get back to the processing barn, they already understand what we're going to ask and how we're going to ask it. So that's kind of where we're thinking on that aspect. All right, 5 basic principles of behavior that we deal with. Cattle won't be able to see you. We've talked about that quite a bit. They have a tendency to also go around you. You notice as I walked into that pen to get them to come out, they come around me and left. So that's something we can use to our advantage. Third thing is they tend to follow one another. They are a herd animal. So if we can get them started, they'll follow each other better. We don't have to put as much pressure. Okay? So the trick is to get the front started, not push from behind, although sometimes you got to do that, but trying to get the front started and create that draw and create that flow. Fourth thing is they want to remove that pressure. Remember, as I went in the pen, I pushed them away from where I wanted them to go and then let the draw bring them back to me. That's opposite of what a lot of people want to do. They want to go behind them and push them out to where they want them to go. So it doesn't seem like a big deal, but that's the hardest habit I have to break in people, is the want to go behind them and push. And you can get them out, but you're not teaching them to draw and to flow when you do that. The last one is the cattle only think about one main thought at a time. I normally say they're kind of like a guy, but it's just people in general. You know, well, this is a really good analogy, by the way. Guys don't like it sometimes, but we have a reputation of only being able to think of one thought at a time, not multitasking, right? Well, here's the other side of it. Even if you give us one task to do, and it's not real pleasant a task, if somebody's not keeping pressure on you to do it, you still won't do it. That's just human nature a lot of times. So if somebody's not looking over your shoulder and reminding you need to go do that and keep the pressure on you till you get that unpleasant task done, you'll put it off. We see the same thing in cattle. If they don't want to go in that chute on their own accord, and we just say, well, they'll figure it out, they may not. They'll put it off. So we got to put enough pressure on them to make them do what they know we want them to do. So that's the part that's always kind of fun to work with. All right, so they're comfortable. This is enough pressure that they're staying away from me. They'd rather go back home, but right now they're fine with it. And with this group, I'm actually going to pull part of them up and put them in that front alley just so I have less of them in here to work with. It worked a little better in the last group to have less cattle in here to demonstrate what we're talking about. So I'm going to just, see how it's interesting how much pressure it takes to hold them. I'm not doing anything, so they're getting a little braver. It's kind of fun to watch what they do. They tell you a story every time they're doing something. This old calf, yes, even yesterday, he was pretty brave. He'd come to the front just to see what I was doing. All right, I'll take pressure off them and let them ease down here. Then I'll put some up in that alleyway. If I'm working a set of cattle and I have a chance in an alleyway to let them come past me, I'll do that. I don't want them to run, I want them to walk past. Now the camera being down there, that was something they're not used to either. They turned around and there's a new pressure down there. They thought when I left it was all over, but it wasn't. Now, if I'm going to get cattle to move somewhere, I'd kind of like for them to look at me before I actually go to them. They can see the gate open. I can step to them and draw them forward and create my draw coming out of here. It's going to be funny because I'm going to wind up with a bunch of the ones that are a little harder to work sometimes. All right, that worked. But notice I didn't have to go get them, did I? Now these are like, that's not fair. They get to leave. But they're going to be real easy to get to come this way now because their buddies are up there. So I've got draw coming this way, push back going. That was where they wanted to go a while ago, wasn't it? Back to the home pen. So we've changed the whole dynamic and they're saying like, oh, what's happening? So I'm just going to stand up here and let that one kind of figure it out a minute. And like I said, we don't have a chance to do a lot of this sometimes, but it helps these old cattle just know if they just ease up here, it's fine. Now they're willing to put up with my pressure now so they can get back to their buddy. Remember, they stayed away from me when there wasn't a draw on the other side. So watching their behavior is really interesting to me to see how they behave and what we can get them to do. Now, other thing we want to try to do with cattle is get them to where we can sort them pretty easy. And we use point of balance to sort cattle. And most of you have probably seen the diagram or seen videos where we're talking about point of balance being about the point of the shoulder. So what that means, if I go forward, those cattle are going to come forward. If I go this way, I can stop him. See that point of balance? There's some point in there he'll stop. And so we start using that as our brakes and our gas pedal. On some cattle, it's about the point of the shoulder, but there's nothing about the shoulder that dictates whether an animal moves forward or backward. It's where we're at in relationship to his eye, and so we use that to our advantage. So here I can draw that calf forward. I can step down his side, send him, one on backside is going to go first. But then by using that point of balance, if I want this one to stop, I can get over here and stop him, or I can move over here. I have to step toward him a little bit, and then he'll go. But then you get to where you got quite a bit of control on the cattle, because they start understanding as I step out, I want them to go forward. So I'll just stick them down there, and I want to get them to where I can start and stop them as I need to. So if I want to bring him back, I want to pull his head around, send him forward. Now I can step out and let this one come. Now yellow's got a tendency to go a little faster than Blackie. I just want him to stop a minute. Now I'll let him go. The white calf has a tendency to turn around quite a bit. I would like for him to always look forward when I'm asking him to do this. So as I start up here, I'm going to go this way to try to draw their head. Now I can release them to go forward, maybe. There we go. Won't be able to stop him, keep him looking this way. Whitey's not going to want to stop. I'm not going to fuss with Whitey. I messed with him too much. Turn this one back. Now I've stopped this calf about 4 or 5 times, and he's going to get where he won't go by me if I'm not careful. You just want to crawl out and quit, don't you? Now, if he thinks that's a better place to be, all I've got to do is put enough pressure on him here that he'll decide to go the other way. And then he'll leave this one and go with his buddies. So all of this is a process that I like to work on. Like I said, if you're going down the alleyway or anytime you have a chance to make one of them start and stop, because if they don't know how to stop, you can't sort very easy. All right, we have 2 white ones, 2 red ones, and 2 black ones in here. Which 2 do you want me to sort out or separate? Want the whites out or in? Well, that's cheating now. All right, we'll do the white ones out first, then we'll pick another one. All right, so to sort cattle out of a group like this, I'm going to use the calves to help sort these cattle and push them around where they need to be. Now I've got old Yellow here. I can pull him out from where I was at. You little turkey. He's the one that wouldn't go a while ago. Now, that's something else. We lose our mind a lot of times. Now, Whitey's been wanting to go easier than the rest of them. They'll probably both fool me now. But if he's run by me that bad to start with the first time, he's going to come back this way. And then we got him sorted. So I see so many people just lose their mind if one gets by them and they mess up the whole sort chasing that one. It's obvious we both need to practice. Let's just go back and get him. Okay? That calf was really interesting. He wouldn't go by me a while ago, so I let up on him thinking he would stick, and he didn't. So it was my fault for misreading him. Now which 2 do we need out? He's getting real creative over here. Now what'd you say?
The horned black one and the horned red one.
Okay, you want the horned ones out. All right. Well, now that's cheating too, because they're up here at the front. But I'll tell you what, we'll hold them back. That way we'll have them out. So here I'll just put a little pressure on them. Get them turned back. He's getting on my list now. We'll just start all over. So I now know that I got to pay a little more attention to this little putz. I need to just move him up a little bit. He's not going to be able to take the pressure. Now I've got a place to turn him around if he'll go behind them others. Right there. And now I've got my others to come out. And I've got my sort done. So it's trying to figure out where to get to push on an eye or pull on an eye to do that. And a while ago he wouldn't go anywhere, and then he decided he wanted to go somewhere. So I was always a little bit late on him, and he's pretty pushy. So I need to use a little sound I can stop him. Otherwise he was pushing over me. All right, at least he stopped. That's a first. Now he's got kind of nervous for some reason, right? We sorted him out and he got a little separated, so he's a little nervous. He's breathing heavy. He may just be like me, fat, and he can't run that much. All right. So these are kind of fun to work with. Now these are like, what are y'all fussing about? This is not a big deal here. Even this old big steer, yesterday he was kind of going pretty fast, but I like him. He's kind of cool. All right, I'm gonna put some more. I'll tell you what, I'll leave these. I'm gonna put some more with them, then we'll do a little bit other stuff. I'm gonna get them to move up a little bit. Just like we did earlier. Try to draw these cattle out like I was gonna keep you, Blackie, but here I can maybe push him to the side and clear away for these others. Maybe. All right. What I wanted to try to do with one or two of these is talking about really kind of fine-tuning what we're talking about on pushing on an eye or drawing on an eye and getting cattle to turn away from you. If this calf here, he's paying attention to everybody but me right now. But if I want him to look my way, he's not wanting to do that, is he? I'm gonna put enough pressure on him that he has to. I'm gonna pull this one up. Now if I wanna pull his head out of the corner, I gotta get his eye, step over here. He's pouting now. But I can draw his head out of the corner from over here. I don't have to go get him, I can draw him out. All right. I'll try to use this old horn calf to do what I'm talking about. If I wanna get him, then I want to get him where I can push his eye away from me. And what we're talking about pushing on an eye, if I come down here and stop, I've got to get him far enough off the fence to where he actually has room to do that. So if I step in here, he should come off. I can draw his eye out. Then I can turn him back that way. If I leave him on the fence, he can't do that. He's got to have room to change. And the reason I want him to be able to turn away from me is if I need him sometimes to go into a corner maybe and get cattle out of the corner for me. And an animal will not turn their butt to you unless they trust you. Okay? So he's kind of fun. I can step over here and draw his head out. Step over here and stop him. Now I can push it. Now he's getting where he'll turn his butt to me. He's not worried about it. And notice as I'm trying to stop him, I'm backing up. We have the mentality a lot of times we don't want to give ground. If you have it to give, it stops them. Rather than going toward them, you go toward them, what we've been talking about that does. You go toward one, it draws them to you. So a lot of times you try to jump at one to fix them, you actually create them running over the top of you, which is makes your mind kind of, that is backwards. Let him relax a little bit. He's not liking this program. But right now, he's set up. I can push on him. Push on an eye. Push on him. When he turns, then I'll let him go. So he's getting a lot softer already, just turning away from me. That don't seem like a big deal, but to a cow their genetics tell them when I turn my butt to something, that's when I get pounced on by a predator. All right, so that's something we got to always work on. Why don't we go ahead and go inside, and we'll talk a little more about the processing area on the inside and how the things we've done here helps that create that flow coming into that processing area.